confident. So today we're talking through boosting your studio's growth, the focus on some of the latest marketing insights and trends, especially focused on fitness, dance, yoga studios, the general Punchpass community, and what we're seeing both from a Punchpass perspective and as well as like a research perspective into global trends to kind of help hopefully guide you a little bit through some of these marketing opportunities that maybe we're not taking advantage of at the moment. The biggest thing is please feel free. We're gonna kind of do a quick overview here, but if people, if you're thinking about your situation and not everything is applying to you in terms of what we offer over the course of this presentation, please feel free to pick and choose the things that make sense for you. We have a really interesting community of studios here at Punchpass. So some things might be pretty general, some things might be a little specific, and you're going to get the opportunity to pick and choose things as we go through some marketing trends, some opportunities, some things we're seeing in different marketing landscapes that we hope you'll be able to apply. But again, it's going to be personal for every single one of you as you make decisions about your marketing efforts and where you'd like to spend your effort and your time. Sometimes this can take over a lot of our time, right, Chris?
Absolutely. Yeah. So don't take this as you have to do all this. This is just
Right.
an overview of the landscape.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. We are going to do questions at the end. Feel free to write in. There should be a Q&A box and a chat box. Feel free to send in questions if you have them over the course of the presentation, and we'll get them at the end. All right, but I think we should dive in as we start talking about the bulk of what we're going to get into today in terms of marketing trends, strategies, and things we think can be a real benefit to studios like you. So first, we're going to take a look a little bit at the 2024 landscape. We're kind of getting closer to the end of this year, but looking at kind of where things are going, what's sort of trending, and what seems to be, not just from a Punchpass perspective, but from marketing experts online who are doing the research about these kinds of things and what they're seeing specifically for the fitness industry. One of the first things that come up over and over again when people are getting feedback and reviews about what people are looking for and how we can market to them. One of the biggest things is connecting with people and in meaningful ways. Reports are, studies are coming out that a lot of people are feeling lonely and disconnected from real engagement. And that's a really nice opportunity because a lot of what Punchpass Studios are offering is this kind of community focus of a place to go, meet people, engage in an activity, and maybe learn something new with the new people, and possibly make friends and connections. And we are seeing that with class attendance. I don't know if Chris, you wanted to jump in on that one.
Oh, just it's been interesting to watch over time since, obviously, with the pandemic and COVID, online class attendance absolutely skyrocketed. And it's really been declining since then. And that's not to say it's not an important part of a lot of studios' strategy.
Right.
For people who either, can't make it into the studio, or have moved out of town. But no question across the system, there are fewer online class attendances and classes in general than there are in person.
Yeah, that in-person focus seems to be, again, kind of, back on the upward swing as people are, I think feeling that need to meet in real life and connect with people. And what we're also, kind of looking at the marketing perspective, people are trying to engage in different platforms and in different ways. So just trying to not put all of our eggs in one basket. If we just double down on one particular platform or one particular marketing strategy, we, are missing out on connecting with so many other people who just are not in that space. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we talk about the different areas. But it does seem like we really want to try to diversify. Looking at some global reports on fitness memberships, we're looking at people, around 40 and under are being, the biggest new members signing up. It's about 80% globally of these memberships are being purchased by Gen Z or millennials. So obviously, again, the situation where everyone's a little different. We do have a lot of studios who are targeting more, older demographics, which is completely fine, but that is going to adjust your particular perspective. So we are going to talk about your audience, but know that there is, some purchasing power with certain generations and some potential here. That might tie in a little bit to the fact that we're seeing a lot of growth and a lot of focus on creating video, especially posting videos to social media platforms, and that being a big focus of marketing engagement in the fitness industry. But this also kind of leads into like talking about bigger picture or the core of your marketing plans. Authenticity seems to be the focus, the realness, and kind of gets into that community factor. But the realness and the real people doing real things aspect of marketing has been definitely a bit of a trend. People are looking for people they feel like they know and can trust. And that's kind of an aspect to think about as you're building your marketing, sort of platform. And then a big kind of move just specifically in the fitness and wellness space is really moving away from, don't you want to look like this and then people will treat you a certain way? It's more about doing things for yourself and focusing on why it's a benefit for you. And I think we're seeing that across our community of studios for sure. But that seems to be continuing in 2024, and I imagine moving forward. So some kind of, some bigger picture things to think about as we dive in and think about how to handle your own marketing strategies. Because all of these trends and, things that are happening in the world is great, but it kind of matters as to, who you are and what you're looking to do with your marketing. So the first thing we kind of recommend is looking at your own setup and your own current situation, like getting a snapshot of what you're currently doing. So thinking about how much time are we currently spending on our marketing activities? Are we posting regularly? Are we constantly coming up with new promotions and ideas? Are we kind of, letting things kind of roll along, because that's going to determine how much effort we feel like we can add to our plate. So things to think about as we look at getting involved. I'm thinking about where people currently find you. Where are you at online, in person? What platforms are you currently using? Just identifying where your business is and how people can look you up if they are trying to find you. The idea again, how often are we posting? How involved are we online as a brand and as a studio? And a big focus, we've talked about this a lot lately, is in some previous webinars, is how easy is it to get a person who finds you to take their first class, like that first lead in, welcoming in a new customer, getting them to actually click and sign up and do the thing, walking through that process and seeing how maybe that might be something we need to focus on when it comes to updating some of our marketing. And, thinking about your current client base. Are you asking people for reviews? Are people posting reviews just sort of on their own? Are things just happening? Are you getting tagged in social media posts? Are we doing anything with that? So just kind of getting like a state of your marketing setup is definitely where we want to start before you move on. Because if we're not really spending a lot of time on it, we're probably not going to add 4 more social media platforms to our to-do list, but we might want to focus on 1 or 2 as we start exploring some of these different avenues. And also checking out on your, doing that little check, authenticity check. Are we representing ourselves appropriately with our marketing? Is the way that we talk about our classes or put ourselves out there, does that feel in line with what the actual experience of taking classes with us is? Are you representing your community? Maybe in your, posts, are we, showing real people? Are we pulling from actual experience? That's something to check in with and kind of just make sure we're feeling like we're putting ourselves out there in an authentic way, in a way that's not going to misrepresent what your studio is.
Yeah. Victoria, I was just going to mention,
Yeah.
and one thing is nice here, it is really important to take the time, to evaluate where you are before you jump in, because as you'll see, there's a lot of different options.
Yeah.
And really important also just write it down. A lot of
Mhm.
people, you'll go through this list and you'll sort of have an idea, but write it down, put a date on it, because the next thing you know, 6 months have passed and you can go through the process again. And it really won't take you very long. But you can sort of see what progress you've made or what progress you haven't made, and get a sense of, are you moving in the right direction?
Absolutely. Yeah. And not only are we going to want to look at, checking in with ourselves as to what we're currently doing, but also thinking about, what do we want to be doing? What do we want these marketing efforts to result in? Who do I want to come to my studio? If I have a particular, target demographic, how can I find them? How can I talk to them? So like identifying who we want to talk to, who we want to get in front of, is kind of key to figure out maybe where we want to spend some of our marketing efforts. So figuring out like, what do we want from them? Do we want them to, schedule a meeting with us? Do we want them to take their first class? Do we want them to just sign up for an email newsletter? Figuring out kind of what your goal is when they first interact with you is also something that'll help you determine like, what do I want to promote? What do I want to put out there? Depends on what your goal is with, getting people into your studio. And then if we kind of have a sense of who they are, identifying where they spend their time, if we have a particular demographic or type of person, what are they doing with their time and how can we get in front of them, and be seen by them. Also definitely focusing on, how can we make this decision really easy? So if we know we want them to sign up for their first class, how can we make that process super easy for them? We'll definitely talk a little bit about some of those promotions. We have 2 really excellent webinars that I recommend on getting people in the building, getting the first new customers in, and also promotions that you can offer through Punchpass, which I definitely recommend. But something to think about as you're designing some marketing things. And also think about like, when someone asks you about your studio and you're waxing poetic about your community and what you offer and you're, you kind of have a moment to give your sales pitch, come back to that. Think about sort of, do you have core values or a mission? Is there something really beautiful about, the community that you're working with or your dreams and goals and ambitions for your studio? What is that? And, how can we make that part of our marketing message to kind of, again, focus on that level of authenticity. So yeah, kind of looking into some goal setting as we then look into what the strategy is going to be and ways to diversify your marketing strategy, because we do think that there's a couple different areas that are all, they all have merit, again, depending on some of your goals. So when it comes to what we should focus on, a couple of different areas we're going to get into. One of the big ones, and we're definitely going to talk about this one first, is local SEO or search engine optimization. Not so that if someone Googles fitness studio that you show up, because we're dealing with that, that's a big challenge to get all the way to the top there. But if someone looks up fitness studio near me, that's when we want to make sure that you're optimized and your studio is going to come up in those kinds of results. We'll talk about some best practices there. We're going to talk about email. Email is still a way to directly communicate with a customer base or with the lead base of people that you have made connection with, and they are customers. You have access to them. We'll talk about it. We'll definitely get into social media, the different platforms you have, maybe some ways that you can explore and expand on those, because we know that some studios are really crushing it in certain areas, but maybe leaving some things on the table, or maybe you haven't really made a decent effort to get into this on a regular basis, and you might want to consider start and want to see what feels like a good fit for you. We're also not going to neglect in person. We think that's still very important, and again, a big factor of the Punchpass studio experience. We're seeing people do in-person classes. We're seeing people want to meet in person, and so finding out about you in person is possible. We also really want to focus on leveraging your existing customer base for reviews and content, and how they can help put you on the map, and also give you some of your marketing tools so that you don't have to create everything. So that's kind of an idea of some places we can go with our marketing strategy if we want to really kind of diversify and hit a lot of different groups. So we are going to get started with local SEO. So big part of this, I don't think you're going to be very surprised, as we're going to talk a little bit about Google and how Google works, but we have some other areas to talk about as well. But a lot of people are not going to be looking for, something in a place that they don't live. They're going to look up, I'm going to look up Fitness Studio Portland, Maine, Yoga Studio Portland, Maine, because that's where I'm at. Chris is going to be looking in Burlington, Vermont. We're going to be making our selections based on our location. So that is going to be important for us to consider as we think about some of these local Google search results. Google really wants to serve up what they consider the best results. So they have certain metrics in their algorithm that they determine is, oh, this is a good answer for that question of yoga studio near me. And so they're going to want to provide a best answer, and we want to be the best answer for them. We want to hit some of those factors that they're looking for, so that Google's more than happy to put your studio up, maybe even first, because we want Google to do the work for you. Someone is already looking in your area. They want to take a class like the kinds of things you're offering. How can we make sure that you're set up so that Google wants to promote you?
Yeah, I mean, the goal here is you want to proactive. We're encouraging you to sort of proactively control, right, what Google and Apple and Microsoft, the information they have about your business, right? Because they're going to list your business online, and they'll get the information from Yelp or Facebook or who knows where, and that information might not be correct. And so the reason this is important is because it's really in your control. You can, and as we'll show you in a minute, you can create business profiles for free and sort of control the information that Google provides about your business to make sure it's correct.
Yeah. We definitely see some things that aren't accurate, and I'm sure you've probably, people have run into the situation where they're Googling something and it's not accurate, or it's the old location. If you move, you want to update that. Chris was mentioning a free option with Google My Business. You get to set up your free business profile, and that can be something that already exists because you're an existing business, but you haven't claimed it as the owner. And that is something we're definitely going to recommend doing. It's free. You get to add content so that the information is accurate. It's information you want to put out there. You get to add your own photos, so they're not just pulling something from Yelp. So you get to kind of personalize that and highlight what you want to highlight and not just what Google's algorithm pulls.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm not sure, that first image you showed, Victoria,
yeah.
had a request a quote. You see that.
Oh.
I think that Google limits the options of what you can actually put,
Mm,
but that's another potential opportunity to have a link to an about us page, an intro offer, uh,
mm,
sort of thing. So you can kind of control where, when someone pulls up your profile, where they're likely to go first.
yeah. And they do have like a free meeting with their small business advisors. So something you can kind of take advantage of and have someone take a look at it and maybe give you some tips beyond what we're offering today, that are going to be, really optimized for what Google's looking for, because you'll be talking to one of their people. So that's kind of neat. Similarly, Apple, if you might be familiar with Apple Maps, they also have their own way of doing this, and it's very similar. Basically, you get to create your small business account through Apple Business Connect. You get to add your information similarly, and they do have features like adding links out to, say, your website, or yeah, promotional, first time click here. There's potential there to also explore that, because we also, you're probably still listed on Apple Maps, even if you're not using it. That's an opportunity to claim and make sure the information is accurate, because the more consistent that information is, the more you're going to get served up in these search results. So as that information matches across your website, across social platforms, across Google, across Apple, that's going to help make sure that you're showing up and being served up first, or in the top 3 as people are looking, or in the front page, front page of the results. Something that we've stressed about this in the past, or stressed this before in the past, but it's still key and still important, is our NAP, our name, address, and phone number. We really want to make sure this is accurate across all of the sites that we exist on. So Google, Apple, all of our social media platforms like Facebook, and keeping that consistent and accurate is key, because if you have different phone numbers on different websites, it's less of a good answer by some of these algorithms. They determine that maybe you're not an accurate place to send someone. So we really want that to be true for you. So something you can do is check all your sites and social media profiles. There's actually a free tool called Moz. You can check moz.com. Can definitely send this link out with our recording, because you can have this free tool give you a little check-in, let you know how you're doing. Is all of your information accurate across your it will let you know if something is not the same across your different websites. So like maybe Yelp has the wrong information and you didn't realize. So that's something to definitely consider. And again, we'll send that link out with the recording, so you can, just get a sense of how your business is when it comes to that local SEO and your consistency.
And one other recommendation here is try checking your site on, your friend's phone, your spouse's phone, a buddy's computer. Don't just use yours, because you might be surprised, or use a different browser. Just
Yeah.
sometimes, if you've been visiting your site a lot, it's going to show up a little differently than your friend's computer. So sometimes it can be helpful to just use something different to see how other people see it.
Yeah. Yes, have someone who doesn't go to your site regularly. That's true. So, not an instructor, or not someone who's taking a class already, but yeah, someone who's a little bit further removed would be
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
We've all had the restaurant we've tried to Google, and they don't have the menu, and they don't have the phone number, and they don't have their hours, and it drives you crazy. So making
Yeah,
sure you have the basics is important.
we'd like to avoid that where possible. I mean, and this is also a place where, customer reviews can can matter and can help the algorithm want to tell people about you. Um, please ask your customers for Google or Apple reviews. Most of them are probably like, oh my gosh, I would love to. The majority of people are probably going to think, oh yeah, why didn't I do that before? But the biggest thing is it definitely doesn't hurt to ask. Um, we also think it's really good to respond to those reviews because that's just a nice way to present yourself and that you care about your business, you care about your customers and the way that people review you. It can be helpful. We think, Chris, I think you had something you might want to
Well, it gets back to that authenticity you talked about, right?
mhm.
That, if someone's writing a review, that's usually a real person, hopefully.
Yeah.
And it's important to respond to them. I think you don't you don't want to. It shows that you're listening, you're paying attention. You don't have to respond to everyone. You probably shouldn't respond to everyone with sort of a standard generic response. But
Mm.
if you're responding to most of them, including politely some of the any negative ones, I think that can come across really well and sort of put your studio in a very positive light.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right about authenticity. Like, I'm a real person. I'm responding to real people. Real people take my classes and I thank them and
Yeah.
respond, to the fact that they're posting about it. Yeah. And I think I mean, in terms of our Punchpass community, I think a lot of our studios have that kind of energy of like being an authentic, real experience and a person who cares about that customer experience and wants to support people who take their classes. So I think you can put your personality, out there in a positive way. This is another thing, we were talking about, maybe scheduling a review of your marketing, maybe schedule a regular check-in about asking for customer reviews. You might not want instructors after every single class always to ask, hey, post a review, post a review. That could get a little, annoying. But maybe like every couple months, we say, okay, let's try to, encourage people to post and maybe we'll focus on Google this, time around. And then maybe the next time around, we'll focus on Apple. Something you can also do is consider maybe making this a focused effort and running a promotion. So like anyone who writes a review in October gets entered into a raffle to win a 10 class, pass. So kind of encouraging people to put put their experience out there and maybe sort of incentivize them for doing so. Because it's nice that they're willing to do that and it helps to kind of boost some engagement during, in a kind of short amount of time. Hopefully that'll help again, bring you up in the algorithm's good graces. We do want to stay in those.
And then the only other point I want to make there is that
Mm,
helps you control where the reviews are, right? You really want to think
right.
about if you want people to be reviewing you on Google, or do you want them on
Mm,
Facebook or on Yelp, or
right. Facebook, yeah.
what platform is sort of important to you? And the answer might be, well, yeah, you want them on all of them. But you can control maybe with a promotion, you can
Mm,
provide people a link, go here to Google to leave a review.
yeah.
And maybe bump your reviews up from just a couple to say 10 or 12, and then you can move to another platform.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think that's a great move. But we know that the algorithm isn't everything. Um, sometimes there are things outside of our control when it comes to a very large corporation's computer system and how they determine where things go. So we don't want to neglect email. Um, you control your email list. Um, that is yours. You're not going to get hidden for whatever algorithmic reason. You get to send out your email to your contact list. We love an email newsletter. We think they can be really powerful way to directly talk to your customer base, or people who like considered being in your customer base. They maybe signed up for an account and we have a couple ways to help make sure they move to the next level with some of our marketing tools in Punchpass. But this is an opportunity to talk to that whole list of people that you have. And yeah, hopefully there's no algorithm kind of getting in the way. You can send out an email to these people and let them know what's going on. Again, promote certain things. You can ask for certain things. You can tell people what's going on, present something authentic to them about what you're doing, what you're up to, maybe some things that are going on with you. So in Punchpass, we have email templates, so you can kind of design the way that you want to send out that email newsletter in a fairly easy enough way. We also support custom variables, so it can be like hi first name as opposed to just like hey everyone. So you can make it a little bit more customized. So you can do that in Punchpass. We also have direct integration with tools like MailChimp and MailerLite. There's a lot of options out there. Again, you can use Punchpass and our tools, but there are a lot of other platforms out there that some have free options, some are not very expensive. And if you're looking to really, really dive into that email newsletter approach to kind of market to your existing customer base, definitely something to consider.
Yeah, I want to highlight again, like email, it seems it seems so old school, but year after year, like new trends come and go, and email is still here and it's not going away. And it's just something that what's really important about the email newsletter is your email list is yours and you control it. And you are communicating directly with your customers without any sort of Google or Facebook algorithm in the way. So it can really become an asset over time that you just have a lot of control over.
Yeah, absolutely. Because yeah, I think there's like that element of like it's fairly direct and feels kind of I don't know, real and simple. Something that is a little less simple is getting into social media. So definitely there's a lot here. This is a really good time to remind you all that you do not have to do every single thing we post up here. Please, explore your options. Maybe you like some things, but we don't think social media is something that can really be neglected. It's a huge factor. A lot of people are using it. It's a place where people are spending time. We know that some like globally top 5 social media platforms, we've got Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and WhatsApp. These are very popular platforms, and a lot of them we can consider using. Seeing globally, average user spends about 2.5 hours per day on social media, and some of us might know people who spend quite a bit more. So, this is a place where people are spending time and is a place where you can meet them and get in front of them. And 45% of people are checking socials before making a purchase. So they're looking for reviews. They're looking for someone who has something to say about, what they're about to spend their own money on. So something to consider. This all comes from MarketWatch. This was from a 2024 survey and report that they did. So I just wanted to let you know that's where we're pulling all that information. But I think we probably know that social media is kind of an important place to meet people and consider doing some marketing work on. The first one to talk about is Facebook. It's still very big and popular, and there's been some changes around with Facebook, and I think it's worth talking about some of the ways that people can use it now. Something that is not going to change about the course of this conversation is making sure that our account page is accurate and detailed. If we are leaving things out here, that is something that is going to negatively impact us. So having an about section, listing your hours. I know this one seems a little odd because a lot of times we're running specific classes at certain times. It still helps to place a general sense of your hours of operation in Facebook. It likes that. It makes people feel like it's a real business. We definitely want that to be the case. Facebook offers a call to action button. So like a learn more, or, a button that you can add your own link directly out to, potentially your website or your Punchpass schedule. So thinking about ways that we can make sure that we make your Facebook page work for you. Making sure you have photos, not just profile, but a cover photo as well. Again, some basic things, but filling that all out and making sure it's presenting yourself in a pleasant way is going to be important. When it comes to content, we really do want to show signs of life here. If we haven't posted in a year, this is the situation where people are going to be like, is the business still happening? Are they still on here? Like, do they still have classes, or they're not really posting? So thinking about posting regularly and showing signs of life is going to be important if you're using a platform like Facebook. Facebook has definitely also been moving in the direction of videos. Videos are getting a lot more engagement on Facebook. There's some convenience with Facebook and Instagram, excuse me, having the same, being sort of this in the same world, because you can cross post. So if you do post something to Instagram, you can automatically have it also post to your Facebook page if these are connected. So something to consider. We're also seeing a real big rise in these kind of question posts to boost engagement. So like kind of it's a photo, but it's got text, it's a question, and it's trying to get people to interact with the page and reply and just sort of start a conversation, which is also really great for that community aspect. So getting people who follow you, probably customers, to kind of engage on your page and get into a conversation about maybe, what they did over the weekend. It could be really conversational and fun. It could be asking about, a favorite workshop you've ever run, or, you could certainly make it more business focused, but again, it's an opportunity to engage. There's a lot of details out there on when is best to post. Generally, we're looking at that start of the day, start of the workday, end of the workday, when people are checking in first thing, or they're logging off work and checking back on socials. So something to think about. There are many platforms that can be used to schedule these posts and things, but biggest thing is just kind of showing up, putting things out there. I wanted to highlight one of our users, Wild Root Yoga, because one, they're active, they're posting. You can post stories to Facebook as well. This is why you'll see they have a nice blue circle around their logo here. But filling out all your information, giving yourself an intro, your location, your phone number, your information, how to get in touch with you, your hours, getting reviews. All of that looks really nice on Facebook. It's going to help you engage. And then posting regularly, letting people know. See, they're posting about a class on Punchpass, and you directly send people where you want them to go. So a nice job by them, and just something to think about. If your Facebook page is looking a little bit old and outdated, it's probably time to log back in. Wanted to talk a bit about YouTube, speaking of videos, because it is a massive platform where people are spending a lot of their time. It's actually in sort of the top 5 list. It is #1 for social media platforms globally. It's also a place people go to learn things. So it's a pretty cool idea to consider if we're already maybe considering making video content, to consider having a YouTube channel for your studio. Nice thing about it is you can set up an account, can be free. You can add branding and logo, your business description, get those contact details in there. You can add many links, which is kind of cool, unlike a lot of other social media platforms. Add a bunch of links if you need to, but connect to your different platforms. And you also have the option to sort of pin your video to the top. So it's a great way to kind of, if people are learning about you, want to check something out, oh, maybe you want to promote that on YouTube. And I think we've talked a bit about, people might have an intro to their studio video on Punchpass. Like you might have like in your content library, or the first thing people see on your website is like a tour video or a welcome video. We can put that on YouTube. It's another place, it's another platform and a way to kind of reuse some of that content.
Right. Yes. Some people are worried about posting the same content in multiple places, and you really shouldn't be. Yeah,
Yeah,
YouTube it's huge. It's crazy how much video is
yeah,
watched there and how many people really spend so much time on it. But yeah, having an intro video there, even if you don't have too much else,
yeah.
is a great idea.
Yeah, even just kind of claiming your space, just to be like, we're
Exactly.
here, we exist, here's a video about us, and learn a little bit. If you do want to get involved into kind of posting more regular content on YouTube, this is kind of where, yes, definitely intro, maybe tour of the space. I don't know about anyone else, but like when I'm going to go to a new place for the first time, sometimes I'm like, where is it? And how's the parking? And what's going on there? So maybe like a tour of the facilities might be nice. Um, but in terms of like types of content you might want to post regularly, I mean, YouTube is huge for how-tos, demonstrations, proper form and technique. It's a great opportunity to kind of post, and even some shorter form videos on how to do something might get yourselves a little bit more views, more access to different people. And that's definitely something that you could post on a more regular basis. Maybe it's another opportunity, if you have someone coming to do a workshop with you and you can grab a quick interview and ask a little bit about them, or interview your instructors and ask them to share a little bio about themselves. Maybe you have some regulars who wouldn't mind doing a testimonial for you on your YouTube page. There's a lot of ways to create videos and add content, but it doesn't have to be like every other day. Maybe there's a more periodic sense of things. Um, also, everyone's different in terms of how they feel about putting themselves out there on social media. But there are like fun trends you could follow or maybe check out. Maybe it's just like using a song that's really popular as the music for the video as you're demonstrating a particular move. Or maybe there's a trend and you're like, we can have a little fun little spin on it for our studio. You are welcome, to do any of these things or to not, if that's not really your cup of tea, or if it's not really going to work for your particular demographics that you're looking for. But it's something to think about if you're, trying to get in front of people in a fun, friendly way. Maybe keeping an eye out for some viral trends might be worth the time. I just wanted to highlight one of our studios, because I think they're doing a really great job, Krav Maga KC, because I know exactly, like already I'm like, I know where they are, I know what they do. And then we got a link to their website, overview of what they do. You can learn more about them. The video plays right away, so you get a sense of like, what is the vibe of Krav Maga KC? You're going to learn something about it by going to their YouTube channel. So a good example of a way that you can kind of be out there and people know exactly what you're about really quickly by going onto YouTube. So not something to, maybe, if you haven't explored this or maybe you haven't touched in a couple of years, it might be something to maybe see. Maybe we'll refresh and add something a little bit fun there. Instagram is hugely popular when it comes to fitness and dance yoga studios. There are a lot of ways to get involved with Instagram. There's of course ads like you could do on most social media platforms, but there's also ways to just make yourself a profile that's easier to find and a little bit more optimized for people looking for you. So there are ways to optimize your profile on Instagram for search. So a lot of times when you're setting up your Instagram account, you think a lot about your handle, like this is my identity on Instagram. I like at studio name, but that's actually different from the name field on the account. And so what's kind of cool about the name field is that you could include your studio name and then like describe a little bit about what you do or include your location, because that's going to add that kind of almost like getting into local SEO factor for people to find you. You might get served more to people in your location. So that's kind of a little tip I want to consider as you're optimizing some of your social media pages. And you have 150 words for your bio to highlight, a lot about yourself and your studio. Maybe this is a great place to kind of show that authenticity, or, talk about some, core things that you do, highlight some special things that you offer. But it's a place to include some text, which might help with when it comes to people searching. So that's another place where it's worth putting in the time to write something quick, because it will help as people use Instagram for search, which we know people are doing. So getting into it, video content, again, it is definitely the trend people are moving towards, this year and probably moving forward. Instagram's very popular tool is Reels, because they can be posted on your profile, they can be posted on your stories. So it'll kind of come up as like a new thing, and people's kind of, as they run through and swipe through their Instagram account. And they also have very similar format to TikToks, which we'll talk about in a moment, but there's a lot of potential for reason content here, but definitely focusing on videos. Reels are accounting for over 30% of the time users are spending on intercom. So it's a good source of where people are kind of spending time and scrolling. And it's a way to get in front of people. They're also more likely to get engagement. So like likes or comments, definitely going to come more from a reel than for, just posting a video right to your profile. I wanted to highlight an example of one of our studios who's doing the name thing like perfectly, because, My Yoga Community Center is their handle, but for their name, we see My Yoga Community Center AZ. Giving us the location right in that bio, letting us know who they are, and sort of like their main, kind of saying like, you belong here. So giving us a really nice snapshot of who they are right away when we land on their page. So great example of some of those things that we were talking about. I always like to note, I love that they're sending people to Punchpass. There's nothing wrong with that. We're very happy to see it. But I did want to mention something. I've talked about this before, but definitely wanted to mention again. Every time we bring up Instagram, you get one link on Instagram. So a free tool that you can use, although they do have, different plans if you want to get even more fancy with it. But it's called Linktree. And you get to have one link that can show people a lot of different options. So for instance, if I really want to get someone in to take my, we're doing a new student special, or we're doing some kind of promotion for October, I want that to be something that I'm sending people to. It's a great opportunity with Linktree to highlight that and give people, we can give people directions to the schedule, but we can also highlight something and send them right to where we want them to go. If we're running a series or a workshop, another place we can highlight, and you can update and rearrange all of those links within Linktree. It's a great tool for social media, and I really, really recommend it if you haven't tried that out yet. This one, again, this is another one of those like, hey, this might appeal to you. It might not. It's totally okay. I know there's plenty of people in my life who are like, I am not interested in TikTok in the slightest. I happen to love it, but everyone's different. But yeah, global, the average time spent on TikTok was 95 minutes per day. It will take your time. And that doesn't mean you all have to go scroll for 95 minutes on TikTok to get it, because, we know it's a real thing. We know people are spending time on it. It's in the top 5 social media platforms, and it's growing. It's another video-centric platform, but that's a great thing, because it means that if we're making a video for Instagram or for YouTube, we could probably figure out a way to put it on TikTok. Because, think about it, hey, I could make it on TikTok and then immediately post it to Reels on Instagram. And then we also maybe post it right to Facebook, and maybe we add it as a YouTube short. It's okay to reuse the content. If you're feeling confident about social media and you want to put things out there, there's a pretty reasonable way to make something across the different platforms. Similar to Instagram, it does have sort of the one link situation. So another example of where a link tree can be really helpful. But this is a source of a lot of viral things. You hear about something went viral and it started on TikTok. It just seems to be the source of a lot of these trends. Music, inspiration, different things people are talking about. It does seem to be definitely starting in this space. And that doesn't mean that you are required to go out there and make a viral video that everyone's going to see. That might not even be something you'd ever want to happen. But it could be something where you could participate. So, hey, people are doing this little fun, silly video thing for Halloween, and our studio is going to do it too. It's a way to learn about those things. It's a way to engage with the culture, and it's something to consider. Again, might not be for everyone. Your demographics might say, it's not really where our people are at. But if you think your people, people you want to market to, are spending time on TikTok, it might be worth starting one for your studio. Even if it's just to follow your customers and, comment and engage with them. But yeah, I mean, it's a place where a lot of things are starting or getting promoted pretty heavily. So I did want to do just a quick, there's a lot of content that you could be creating, and you don't have to invent all of this. I think Chris and I were talking about maybe putting this together in some kind of blog post so it's a little easier to access. But yeah, just brainstorming ideas about what you can do. Really quick, short bursts of showing off one exercise or one move. Teach people a dance move, show off a particular yoga pose, maybe show modifications. You could have a particular day of the week and you do a certain thing every week on that day, like tips on Tuesday, and here's a quick message from one of your instructors. Again, we love a studio tour, walking through. Some of these can be, regular things you post a lot. Some of them could be like a pinned video, but just definitely things you could think about. Yeah, what are some common mistakes? Or maybe some common misconceptions about the type of classes you offer, and let people know what's the real deal. Maybe showing off a little day in the life, walking through the experience of, what's it like running the studio, or what's it like, when you have 2 classes that day, what does your day look like? Very popular trend is get ready with me. Oh, we're going to get ready together to take my, salsa class, and here's the shoes I'm packing, and here's, my water bottle with all my favorite stickers on it. There's ways to build some of this content and make it creative, fun, and show off your personality. If you can work with your existing, attendees and take some clips and videos together, stuff that's happening in class. Maybe maybe you're doing Pilates reformer and you're like, let me explain what reformer, what does this do? What is it like? Can we show it off as a piece of our equipment? Getting testimonials or reviews and having people talk about your studio. Maybe issuing some kind of challenge, like, hey, post a video of yourself doing this and tag it, with our hashtag. You can always post news and announcements, something new at the studio, a new instructor, welcoming people. Maybe it's even just a little thing like a birthday, and you're like, hey, we wanted to just share this out.
Yeah, I think the 2 things there, Victoria,
Yeah.
I like the Tuesday tip idea, right? Like we've talked about consistency, and one of the things that's nice about those is, Tuesday comes every week. So if you've got to
Yeah.
have a if you've got to have a Tuesday tip, that keeps you on task, right? That keeps you on
Yeah.
schedule. So if you have a couple of those Wednesday somethings, Thursday somethings, then it really
Mhm.
keeps you consistent. Um,
Yeah.
and then I think some people get caught up in the idea that an intro video has to be like super fancy or well edited, and it really doesn't. Like the goal is to make someone who's going to come walk through your door for the first time more comfortable, right? Where's
Yeah.
the front desk? Where's their coat go? Are there yoga
Yeah.
mats? Where do I take my shoes off? Yes or no? Things like that. What does
Yeah.
it look like? So they are prepped and they walk through the door with a little more comfort.
Absolutely. Making it comfortable. And yeah, it's also, again, getting back into that authenticity focus. It's a little bit more realistic to kind of just like, oh, I'm just going to walk my phone around and like
Exactly.
show you what I
Exactly.
do instead of like, here's our full production, lighting, editing clips. It's just more realistic for like the
Yeah. It's more
real
authentic.
experience. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So definitely don't feel like you need to hire a film crew for this stuff. It can just be on your phone. But yeah, we don't want to neglect in person. Again, when we talk about where people spend their time, um, where can they learn about you and your business? That is, again, if we're focusing on people who are going to come in person to our classes, they're in our communities and they're nearby. And if they walk by, what do they see? Not just your studio, but maybe you've got um, community bulletin boards or in the library or in the community college near you. That's a place where you can promote, put up flyers or posters. Maybe you're hosting a workshop for a weekend and you're getting a poster made. Well, get that out there. You don't necessarily just have to post it in your own studio. You can put it out there in the community. I'm a huge fan of stickers, and I think they're a great way to
Yeah.
kind of get your name and logo out there so people start to recognize you. I also love it when they're combined with a QR code because then people can like, oh, they see that, oh, that looks kind of fun. What's that about? And then they scan their phone and there they can see your website or your link tree or your YouTube intro, wherever you want to send them. Um, so, definitely something to think about. And then getting involved in community events and putting yourselves out there, as your own community. Um, it's definitely it's definitely something we kind of get, oh, social media and email newsletters, like absolutely those things, but there's also people out and about and who are just looking for community or things to do, and this is one of those places where you can put yourselves out there.
Yeah.
um
You want to make sure the person who's walking by your studio every day on their commute or whatever has a
yeah,
quick way to learn more about you without having to walk in, because some people just aren't going to walk in the door to engage with you. But
absolutely.
is there a way to find out more about what you and what you offer and what your vibe's like,
Yeah,
so that prompts them to take the first step?
yeah, great idea to have. Yeah, if you can have a QR code available on
Yeah.
the front door or your front window, not a bad place to yeah, put yourselves out there and make sure people check you out. We don't want to ignore the potential with your existing clients and how they can help you. One, of course, in the social media world, like following people who take your classes. They follow them back if they follow you. If someone posts something, even if it's not about you, like it, engage it, feel free to comment. Maybe share a win that one of your customers had in their personal life. If they're, you know, public, you can post that. You can also encourage people use your particular hashtag or, tag our account if you post a sweaty post-workout selfie. Tag us and we'll post it. You can also, part of the email newsletter might be encouraging people to write reviews, so that you have a place to post them. You could start a trend for your community. Like I mentioned, post-workout selfie. Not everyone's into that. Maybe people more like writing things like my favorite thing about my studio is, or my favorite thing about this class is, oh, it's this instructor's birthday, this month. Like, what's your favorite thing about taking classes with them? I love a little like tag your turn tool. Like Instagram has one where it's like add yours. So you could be like, you know, here's our, breakfast for today, add yours, or here's a picture. I mean, again, you could working for engagement about your studio, things that you're doing. Here's my dance outfit for class today. What are you wearing? That kind of thing. But you could also be like, here's my cat. Just engagement, personality, whatever feels like it fits with you is kind of the goal here. And don't forget, you can ask your clients and people who work, people who are in your community to be part of your promotions and marketing. If you're going to take pictures of your studio, maybe have your actual clients invited to be there, or see if they'll do a review video. Just it helps make them feel special too. Like, hey, we think you're a really great part of our studio and we want to like have you represent us. That's a really nice way to feel. But you could also directly thank them, and also provide them with maybe a discount or some swag as a result of participating in some kind of marketing adventure. And it's another way to, again, build that not only does it build the connection among your community of being like, hey, I'm part of this studio, I'm in the photos on the website, but it also like is an opportunity to just like, maybe get together and spend time together. Maybe you're going, I don't know, maybe we're going to the farmer's market on Sunday and let's all, hey, if you're going, we're going, the studio is going to be there. And then you can, yeah, take pictures and share about your trip and being part of the community. But the biggest thing is don't be afraid to ask. If any of this sounds of interest to you, like, hey, it'd be really cool if we could get people to write a review or take a video in class or after class, just ask. Like, the worst thing that's going to happen is someone's going to be like, no, thank you. And then they don't do that, but maybe 3 other people say, oh, absolutely, I'm going to do that. I love this studio. I want to talk about it all day. I want to be the face. Yeah, great. Feel free to ask, because it doesn't cost you anything. Oh my gosh, Chris, that was a lot of information.
There was a lot of information.
It's a lot. It's okay if you're feeling like it's a lot. That's fair. There's so much here and there's so much more out there online. We have local SEO guides on our website. We have social media guides on our website. We have blog posts about this. There's a lot of content out there. But if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, this is too much, I can't do this, let's kind of like narrow it down to a couple things we can do. Claim your business. Just, you're the business owner. It's yours. Claim it on Google and Apple and make sure the information is accurate. Shouldn't take too much time. Doesn't require you to create new content. Excuse me. You're just populating that information. NAP, name, address, phone number. Make sure those are accurate across your platforms and your profiles. Simple ask for reviews. You could do a promotion for it. That'd be cool. But, very least, just give it an ask. Just see if people are willing. And then maybe the next kind of bigger step, which might take a little bit more time, is reviewing your accounts. What platforms are you on? What are you interested being on? Was any of this content brainstorm? Anything like light a fire and say like, oh, that sounds really cool. I'm going to do something like that. That's kind of what we're thinking. There's so much out there. We talked about a lot of different opportunities, but when we're just kind of sitting back with all this information saying, where should I get started? We think this is a pretty easy way to do a couple things just to make it a little bit more consistent. Maybe you show up a little bit more in some searches. You're getting yourself out there a little bit more. And we can start here, because if we're not doing any of this, it's worth doing just a little bit, even if it's not something you do constantly and you're not posting every other day. We can still do a little bit. and get
Yeah, it's
some
just
of
finding
that.
something, yeah, that resonates with you and resonates with, you think will resonate with your clients, but something you think you can do well, you can do consistently. It's hard to get on that schedule, but you put it in your calendar,
Yeah,
and after time, it sort of becomes part of your regular routine.
yeah,
And yeah, and I think the others just don't be afraid to try something new. I mean, marketing is really a lot of marketing, it's about trying a lot of experiments to see what works. And sort of by definition,
yeah,
experiments usually fail.
yeah,
So if you've tried five things and they haven't worked, that's not unusual. You got to keep
yeah.
trying new things. And you
Yeah.
never really know. We've done some things here that we thought were going to be a big hit, not been a big hit.
Yeah,
We've done some
we tried
we've
it.
done some things that have been like surprising hits. So
Yeah, yeah. You don't always know. We're always, it's worth trying a new thing. Um, and it's yeah, worth a little bit of effort, we think, because you never know what's going to pay off, as you kind of go through this. So I want to see if there was any questions. So go ahead and feel free if you do have anything you want to ask me or Chris. Um, about marketing, about boosting some of these, ideas, platforms, local SEO, email, whatever, all of the things we've covered. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to write in the chat. Um, but I did want to ask, I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to kick us off, Chris.
all
If
right.
if you could tell me, because I know that you're paying attention to what our studios are doing and what's been working for different people. We talked a little bit about trying to push people to an intro offer and, making it easy, hey, make sure your new customers or someone who just lands on your site or your, social account, make it easy for them and make it work for them. Is there any kind of like intro offer example or studio that you think is like doing a nice job with that?
Hmm. Um, I have been thinking about this a bunch because it's interesting to see clients and studios that you see around the world who's doing what differently.
Yeah,
Uh, there's one I ran across recently. It's a client called Vital Beat down in Australia. And what I thought was that they do a few things really nice. So first off, her website's just very nicely designed and very clear. Gets across sort of the vibe of the studio and what they're all about. The intro offer is highlighted right on the homepage right up top. When you click on that, they have a web page on their site specifically for the intro offer. So it's more than just here's the price and here's what you get. It's about the
mm,
studio, right? It's about sort of the experience of joining. So they do a good job of explaining things. So that was, I think, interesting. And then
yeah,
second, um, the next step the next step was actually to fill out a form. So you just typed in your name and your email address. They weren't linking directly to a purchase page, which is sort of, I don't know, counterintuitive, right? A lot of times you think you want the you want to link right to the purchase, so people will just buy it. But they were actually adding friction to the process. You've got to put in your name and email. Maybe there's a phone number option so you could get a text. But either way, then they would respond with an email with more information about the studio and a link to actually purchase. So I thought that was interesting. They, sort
yeah,
of make somebody, it's actually an easier step, right? Instead of purchasing, all you got to do is put in your email address.
right.
And then they're following up with you. And it gives them an opportunity to follow up multiple times. So I think maybe it's helping
Yeah.
them capture those people who come to your site and they're intrigued by the intro offer.
Hmm.
They're not quite intrigued enough to like pull out their credit card,
Yeah.
but they might be intrigued enough to raise their hand and submit some interest. So I thought that
Yeah.
was interesting, um, the way they sort of had that set up.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know, yeah, how that works.
Yeah. That's very cool. Yeah, we had a webinar. I want to say it was a couple months back. It was about like getting new people on like, hey, you have a lead, what do you do with them? How do you get them in the door? How do you, keep up with them? They're maybe interested, what do you do next? And I think one of the things I realized is so many of our Punchpass users don't post about their intro offers. Like it's not obvious on their website. We got people who offer like first class free and it's not listed anywhere on their website, so people don't know that until they like actually go in to purchase or like sign up for a
Yeah.
class. They don't
Yeah.
realize it until they're already kind of on board and doing it already. So yeah, the other thing is, if you're offering promotions or you're doing something or giving people an opportunity to check something out, definitely worth promoting that actively.
Yeah, being very active, more active than you think. I think that's another marketing lesson. It's you think you're saying something too much, but you're not.
No,
You
you
should
can
be
say it
saying it
more.
more. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and we're guilty of that for sure.
Oh, sure. Yeah. We like to share, but sometimes we think, yeah, you can share more in different avenues and arenas. Well, I don't have any questions coming in from the chat, but I think we did cover a lot today. So I understand if people are like, I gotta
Yeah,
sit with this, I gotta
we're shell
marinate a
shocked.
little bit. Hopefully not. But definitely if you have questions and want to follow up with us, you can always email us support@punchpass.com. Or if you log in and want to reach out in the chat, you can get to, the team knows we ran a webinar, so they'll make sure to get in our queue and we can answer your questions if you have anything following up from this. Or if you're checking this out as a recording and you're like, oh, I actually really wish they answered X, send us a message. We'd love to hear about it and get some answers to you. But
Yeah, absolutely. We can.
yeah. But I don't have anything else. So I guess really just thanks everyone for joining us today. I so appreciate you taking the time. I know we went a little over, but we had a lot of information to cover and we're glad that people took the time to join us. And Chris, thank you for joining our
That
webinar
was fun.
today. Yeah, no, it was great to have you. It was fun to chat. But I hope everyone has a really great rest of your week. And yeah, just enjoy it and let us know if you do any of these things. If you try something out or you like offer promotion or get some reviews going and it's working out for you, like let us know. We'd love to hear about it and maybe feature you in a future one of these. So please stay in touch if you are trying new things and you think our community should hear about it. All right. Well, we'll let you all go. Enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks again.